Welcome to Tampa Home Talk with your host, native Tampa real estate girl, Katrina Madewell, a full-time, passionate, out-of-the-box thinker, love for home ownership kind of realtor with over 21 years of combined mortgage and real estate experience. Tune in every week at this time for expert advice on everything you need to know about home ownership, finance, maintaining great credit, building wealth, and making your everyday life better, and how you can be financially successful today and tomorrow. Remember, love where you live or let Katrina fix it. Now, here's your host of Tampa Home Talk, Katrina Madewell.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for Tampa Home Talk. I'm delighted that you can chime in with us. Today's been a little bit of a different day out of the ordinary. It is National Take Your Kids to Work Day, and I'm going to tell you more about that in just a moment. But before we continue, I want to just take a moment to have a moment of silence to remember Mr. Downtown Dave Wagonford. Do I have that correct, Cedric?
That's correct.
We're going to take just a moment to remember him in a moment of silence. He and his wife, Lola, are one of the owners of the station here and just fantastic people in the short time that I've known him over here. And I just would like to take a few minutes at the beginning of my show to remember him. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on Tampa Home Talk. And again, today was National Take Your Kids to Work Day. And it's actually the 21st year that this has been in existence. There was a lady named Marlo Thomas that started this back in 1993. Her dad was a movie producer, and he would take his daughter to work at the very young age, and it learned them just a lot of important details and how to focus, and she got to see a lot of different people in action from a lot of different career types. And I think along the way just made her realize you can basically shoot for the moon and land among the stars. So today I've had the privilege and the honor of bringing my 3 kids with me today. And we had an exciting day today, didn't we, guys?
Yeah, we did. It was really fun, yeah.
So let's introduce yourself, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things we did today, how Mom's Day was, and then some of the comments that you guys gave me along the way. I'd love for you to share those things on air with the person listening. So, Madeline, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Madeline, and my mom's a realtor.
Madeline's my oldest of 3. You're 13. You're going to be 14.
Yeah, I'm going to be 14 in June.
And you're a middle schooler. You'll be in high school next year, correct?
Yeah.
So what did you think about today?
It was really fun, because I thought my mom just, helped people find their house and everything, but it's actually a lot more than that. It was a lot more than I thought it was going to be and what it was about.
So what do you mean by that?
You talk about the houses and what they're actually looking for and, the stuff that's in the house, what it's made of, the floors and the walls and stuff, and just, background research about the houses.
We had a very detailed day today, so I'm going to let you guys share, and then I'll recap with my audience exactly kind of how the day went. And you guys really saw just a little snippet, a little snapshot of a piece of what goes on in an overall part of the transaction. There's a lot of details. And some of the things you guys don't see is the fact that I sit with a client before we ever even go out and look at a property for an hour. We talk about what their goals are and just really kind of get the hang of who they are and what they're looking for. Nick, what did you think about today?
I thought it was really fun.
What did you learn today?
I learned a lot of stuff, and I learned that what my mom does every single day, and I thought the same thing as Madeline thought. I thought she just, talked to people and, told them, okay, here's a house.
So tell me what you mean exactly. You thought we just, walk around and show different... Tell me exactly what you mean.
I thought, my mom, all she did was, she would show other people... properties, and she would just show 2 or 3 houses a day, but no, it's more than that. It's everything.
Sometimes we can show as many as 10 or more properties in a day.
That's a lot.
It can be a lot, yes. And we have to move through those properties very quickly in those kind of days. So, Nick, you're my middle boy.
Yep, I'm 11.
My little monkey in the middle. He's in 5th grade this year. And we had a good time. He's a smart, bright kid. My kids are all incredibly smart. You guys really pay attention to a lot of the details. I know you were kind of silly. It was like a day off for you playing hooky, but I was hoping you'd learn a little bit, take it away from today as well.
It felt like a Saturday.
Well, you got to learn something new every day, so this is what we learned.
That's right. So my little one is Adelisa.
Hi, I'm Adelisa, and today I learned that the same thing as
How old are you?
I'm 8. I turned 8 in March 1st.
And so what did you learn today?
I learned today, just like Madeline and Nick, that you don't just, oh, here's the house, look around yourself. You look around with them, and
Give them a little background about the houses.
yeah, you give them a little background, just like Madeline said, and then you help them look for anything, like if they have any questions, you're there for them, and you never turn your back on them.
No, I don't. That's very good. So it was a fun day. We started our day off today, and I would say, for any day that you guys to follow me, today was quite the day to do it.
And how so?
Well, the reason why, first of all, we started our day and we met an appraiser at a property this morning. And that property, first of all, is an 8,000 square foot home.
It was huge.
A block off Bayshore. You guys almost got lost in that house, didn't you?
Yeah. There were, 3 sets of stairs, and there was
One twisted one white wooden one, and then one wooden one.
It was so crazy. The house was huge.
What did you think about the house, Nick?
I thought it was really big, and I was thinking about how long it would take for you to clean it. Imagine sweeping the floor every day.
Whoa.
Exactly. That'd take you a while. You probably definitely never would get to go play baseball then, would you?
No, probably not. It'd take our entire family about an hour or two.
Okay, so we got there. First of all, what's the first thing you guys learned this morning? Because I want to talk about that. And it was really important. How did we start our day? There was one little detail I'm looking for in how we started our day, and I was just curious if you remembered what that was. What is it, Nick? Do you know?
We were...
What do you think it is?
Wait.
I think that it was... We acted a little bit bad.
Yeah, you guys were a little rambunctious earlier in that big house, weren't you?
Yeah, in that big house, we were so...
Crazy.
Yeah,
my
we
mom
wanted
said,
that house so bad.
5-year-olds on a playground.
Yeah, that's what my
Yeah,
mom
then
said.
we had to go to the car.
Okay, so let's think
It was
about
fun.
one detail before that, Nick, and you had it. You whispered it into my ear. What happened this morning? First thing.
We were really late, and my sister wouldn't get out of bed,
Them two made them.
and she has to go. She has to go to school at 8:30, and she's like, "You know what? I'm going to go with my mom. Let's go with mom today for bring the kid to work day."
Okay, so what did you learn from that? The fact that remember how I was trying to round you guys up and get out of the house this morning?
Yeah.
And we left the house a little bit late, and we got there. We were late for our first appointment. So how did that affect the rest of our day?
That made everything behind. We were an hour or half hour to an hour late, so that made it that much later to every single property that we showed.
We were late with having lunch with our dad today and everything.
Did you notice that at the very beginning, I don't even know if you noticed, after we left the first house, we went to the second one, which we're going to talk about in a minute, but there was another property we were supposed to see, and I had to call because we were an hour late for that one. You see, you guys didn't even notice that. There was a lot of stuff going on today while we were working. You didn't even notice.
Like what?
A lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. I should have Sarah call in and chime in. If it wasn't month end, I would. But we have a lot of moving parts, and we have files trying to close tomorrow. A lot of them have things that still have to happen before they can get into escrow and get their keys. There's a lot of details that go into that. So first of all, one of the things I want to share about was we started off in that big house.
Yeah.
And the next house we went to was a lot different. And I want to talk about that and talk about why they're so different and why that's important to the person listening. What do you want to say, Nick?
I wanted to say, after that house, I'm skipping a little bit ahead, sorry. on the street, we saw the Google Maps guy. So it was really cool. And he had it looked like a tower on top of his car.
Yeah, it had like a big camera on top of his car.
And it was like
everything.
Oh,
it was like a white tower with blue on top of it.
And did you remember what the ball looked like? There was a bunch of cameras on that ball, remember?
We chased it for 10 minutes.
But then we lost it. My mom wanted to take a picture of it.
I thought that was
cool to look
it was
at.
just neat and ironic that you guys were with me today and then we saw the Google Maps car.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those before.
My mom was like, "Oh, do you guys see that car in front of us?" And we're like, "What?" And we look up and we're like, "What is that thing at the top of it?" And my mom was like, "I bet you it's a Google Maps car to record it." And we're like, "What?"
And then I made a right turn and it said
we saw the side
Google
of
Maps.
it. Yeah, and then my mom was like, "Oh, that's so cool! Let's take a picture of it." So then we followed it. We didn't walk in there. We followed it, and then it disappeared. And then we went out somewhere in a parking lot to try to snap a picture of it.
And
while
we waited
it left.
for it.
And we waited for it, and then it we lost it.
So let's talk about the differences in some of the houses, because I think this is important. And we were running around today. You guys were asking me why I did what I did, if I liked what I did. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so it's important for me because I love what I do. And part of the thing is, for example, the people that are buying that house, the one that needs to be fixed up in Bayshore, they have young kids, they're getting ready to start a family. So for them, this is their forever house, and this is their dream house that they're buying. They're going to completely renovate and make it their own, and they'll live in that house forever. And then we have the other end of the spectrum. There's another lady we met today. Remember her name was Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
So we met Kelly today, and then we went and showed Kelly a property, and that property was very different, wasn't it? The first one that we saw, you remember?
The big one?
Yes.
Not the 8,000 square foot house, the next house that we saw.
Oh, yeah.
It was from the outside it looked small, but
when you walked in it, it was pretty big, and then it had a shed out back, two sheds, a workbench shed, and then
actually it had
shed.
3. It had a regular shed. It had it looked like a barn, but it was a workhouse, and then there was another in-law suite. So it was pretty cool. It was screened in. And
it was
there was
another house, it
was two. Yeah, it was 2 houses, and there was upstairs too.
Yeah, it was,
for more storage.
Was really neat.
So what was so different about that house? And you guys have been with me before. I know here and there where I've had to show a property and there's not enough time to get you guys and we have to go somewhere else. Occasionally you guys have come with me before, but not for a whole day usually. So what did you think about, the house was very different than a lot of the other things we've seen.
And
it had that in-law suite. So let's talk about who the buyer is that would pick that house. Do you remember why we were looking at that house?
Because the lady's dad?
Yeah, she had a dad that was out of state. And she was looking for a place for her dad and her. So she was like, this is a perfect house, but she wanted to check out another one.
I think Madeline was going to say something too. Go ahead.
Yeah, her dad was from Texas, and there was this Texas plaque on the wall that was held up by nails, and it was really cool because she noticed that and she was like, "Oh, Texas, see?" It was pretty cool.
Boo Bear, what did you think about the house that we saw, that second one?
That second one, like Madeline said, it was pretty small. It looked small on the outside, and
Nick said that.
Oh,
that one. Do you know what the design of that house was called? Anybody know what the architectural style is?
I have no clue.
Well, the first one was a Lloyd Wright, which was a just high-end architect back in the day that built the 8,000 square foot house. So there's a lot of people that really look for those type of homes. The second home was called a bungalow. And it was a 1924 restored bungalow in Seminole Heights.
Oh, no, I remember.
And the bungalow, remember when we walked through it, had the old original floors that were restored?
Yeah.
And then a lot of the stuff was updated. And then when we walked through the back, remember how nice that common area was between the two houses? Mm-hmm. And there was a little in-law suite in the back. Talk about the in-law suite. Do you remember the little house in the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked really small from the outside. And you would think, the upstairs, you, didn't even know. You would think, it's a regular house, an attic. you think it was like an attic, but no, like in the corner of the house there was a staircase.
Go ahead.
And the staircase, and like it went upstairs, and it was another like whole room and everything. And there was like a TV up there, and there was a bed up there, and a bunch of cabinets and stuff. So it was really cool. It was really cool.
Well, remember in that other little house they had downstairs, there was a little kitchen that you walk into. There was a little table with chairs. Remember, the bathroom was in the center, living room off to the left, a little patio, everything. And then upstairs was a full bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What did you think about the house?
I think it was really cool because it was kind of like the other one, but not as many stairs as the other one.
In that house, it was very different than anything you guys have seen before, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I went with Mom one day while Nick and Annalise went to school. And then I came with Mom one time, and I saw this really cool house. Like, I really want to in-law suite when I get older and buy a house. I don't know why. There's something about it that I really like. And we saw this one. I was like, Mom, this is so cool. I've never seen this before. And you're like, well, now you have. It was really cool.
We run into all kinds of different design and appeal when we're out and about. But the neat part that I'd like to explain is just the fact that the architectural styles and the designs and the houses are very different. So the family's needs are very different. And that's one of the things that I really love about what I do is we have to kind of peg down who the client is, what are their needs right then, because people don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm going to move and buy a house today.
Yeah.
It's a process. They've thought about it. They've been thinking about it for a while, and they're thinking about, you know,
the kind
why they want to move. Yeah. And what they need in that house to make it work for them. Because that house, obviously, like, would that house work for our family?
Probably not, because we have like 5 people.
We're a family of 5, so
and
right.
we have dogs and everything, so probably not.
But for somebody like that, where their kids are grown,
I think that'd be perfect for her, actually.
But the third house was kind of for our family. It was kind of good.
It all depends on like what family size you have.
It had like 4 bedrooms, 2 for one for the parents, and then 1 for us kids, like 1 for each kids, and it was really cool. And me and Mom went in that one, and it was really cool. It had like this pool, and
that one had a pool and the yard size was double. Remember, the yard was twice as big, but it was laid out totally different.
Yeah, and there was this little thing where it looked like a little barn, but it didn't look exactly. It was kind of like white, and...
Are you talking about the shed that was in the back?
Yes.
I gotcha.
And you can only look through it and through the window.
So I think we have to take a quick break here in just a minute, but you're listening to Tampa Home Talk, and this is your host, Katrina Madewell. We're in studio today for National Take Your Kid to Work Day, and in studio with me we have
Madeline,
Nick,
and Annalisa.
And we'll be back in just a minute to tell you all about our day. Stick around. You'll catch us here every Thursday and Saturday at 5 p.m. Back in a moment.
and we're back to Tampa Home Talk
with your host, Katrina Madewell.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Adalisa, go ahead. Can you give a welcome back message to the person listening? No? You're getting shy on me now? All right. Okay, so let's dive into some more facts and talk about some of the things. You guys were tagging along with me today because it was National Take Your Kid to Work Day. And we're going to dive into the third house, thank you, Adalisa, that we saw today, and actually continue on with some of the things that you guys learned, because I hope that you learned a few things today. And there's one more point I'm going to see if anybody remembers, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to wait and see if you guys catch it. And if you didn't, then I'm gonna recap it towards the end. So, Adalisa, where do you want to pick up?
The third house, it wasn't kind of like the other two, but
they were all very different. All three of them were different.
Yeah, but the But the first and second one were like big, like kind of the same big, but the second one is a little smaller. And let's get back to the third one. It's like there was a pool. That's what make it cooler, because pools make houses cooler. And there was like a pantry, and there was like couches with cool pillows, and it was kind of cool.
I thought it was interesting that when we got here at the studio today, Lola asked you guys if we let the kids pick the house. How do you guys think that would go if we let the kids pick the house first?
Oh, I think
You'd have an awesome house for kids, but then the adults wouldn't really like
probably not like it.
You guys would take over the master bedroom, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably.
it. Yeah, we'd be like, this is mine.
Like the biggest closet there.
So I'll tell you part of the reason why a lot of times people don't start with the kids, but they end with them. And I answered this for Lola a few minutes ago. That's because, again, remember we were talking about the first house, which had a bunch of small kids, probably going to have some more, compared to the next client that we had. Her kids were fully grown, and she was talking about the whole life cycle where dad was going to come live with them, but in his own little place. So it's interesting because the setup for those houses have to be very, very different, right?
Yeah.
They were pretty different. Like, one was big, and then there was another one with, like, like I said, there's an in-law. There's an in-law suite, thank you. And then there was the regular house, and it was right off of 275.
Yep, Seminole Heights area.
And, like, the loudest thing you heard was the garbage truck that came by.
Yeah, we were talking about that because it had the original windows, remember? And sometimes those are not like some of the newer homes that have the double pane insulated windows, and the construction was totally different, and the materials they've used were different for each house. So let's think about this for a minute, because I know you guys learned some other details along the way, but part of the reason why we don't let the kids pick the house first is because, A, we have to make sure it's a house that the parents can afford, right?
Yeah.
Because one of our show's mission is we want to make sure people can live within their means.
Yeah, that'd probably help.
So that means we don't want them to be house poor, and that means that they have to have a house they can afford, yes, and some balance. So that's certainly one reason why we don't let the kids pick first. The other thing is, too, we want to make sure it's right for the parents, and the parents have the feeling, because they're the ones that have to make the payment on it.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are going to take the biggest responsibility for the house, and the other ones that are going to sign for it. So usually what happens is they bring the kids in next to see if it's a house that they like, that will meet their needs, and then they usually get to pick out the room.
Yeah, first.
What do you want to say, Nick?
Like dibs.
Yeah. I called dibs on the master bedroom.
The first house we looked at, the master bedroom closet was probably big enough for you guys to have your room, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Huge.
Did you guys remember where that was in the house?
No, it was like a maze, the entire house.
It was on the top floor, wasn't it?
Adelisa, did you remember the closet in the master bedroom of the big house?
Yes.
So tell me some of the things that you learned today, because I remember when we got to the first house with the appraiser, you guys were asking him questions and we were watching him. What are some of the things that he did? Did you notice what he was doing? What was the first things he did?
He was taking pictures of the house. That way we could know like what everything was. And he was showing us and telling us that like the floor was oak and they made the cabinets out of
cherry wood,
yes. And he said that oak dent's easier. Maple's in between, and cherry like is really hardwood. So,
why do you think the appraiser was looking at those details in the house? Why do you think that's important?
So the buyer can know what they're buying and what they're knowing about the house. Like what they have to know about the house.
Well, the appraiser, the guy that's coming out, he's actually doing the appraisal for the bank where the buyer's getting a loan. So, do you think does it matter what the floors are made out of?
Yes, because that could like this could be worth more. Like this type of tile could be more than this type of laminate. So
Yeah.
Very good. So that, especially when you start getting into the higher priced houses, the details matter. The quality of construction, the things that go into them. Remember, he made a comment on the windows. I don't know if you guys heard that, because the windows were very expensive windows. They keep a lot of the hot and cold inside, whether you're trying to heat or cool the house. There was 2 different fireplaces too. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah, there's one in one living room and then like one in the other sort of living room.
And it was really cool. He told us that you measure fireplaces by BTUs, and that's the amount of wood you can carry inside the fireplace.
Well,
and
the heat.
Yeah, with the
amount of
radiation.
heat. What did he say about that fireplace? Do you remember?
He said that there was there had to be a layer of like concrete and
behind it, yes.
Yeah, behind it, and then
Like the chimney had to be made of concrete, and nothing flammable could be up there, because if there was, then all the heat would go up, and then you'd have a house fire, and you wouldn't want that happening with an 8,000 square foot house.
Wow. But do you remember what he said about the granite around the fireplace, Madeline?
That the heat radiates around.
Let's see if Adelisa remembers.
That if it's
What did he say? Remember, he was talking about BTUs and the fireplace, and he talked about the size of the fireplace, how big it was.
the BTUs, there was this little glass around it. It was like glass, and it like if the fire's on and it heats, there's this little thing but under it that when the fire is on, then that glass, it heats up. And sometimes if it gets too hot, it can put on the other fireplace.
No, that's not what he said. Do you remember what he said, Madeline?
I do.
What did he say, Nick?
Since it was surrounded by granite, he said that everything would be, like, the heat would radiate around the granite and everything would be hot, instead of, like, I speak from experience that you can, like, just around it, it'll be really hot, but no, the granite, it'll spread the heat all around it and it'll radiate around the granite.
And he said, remember, it would heat up the area so much that it could actually spread into the other room. Remember that?
Yes, He said that it would heat up the room. You wouldn't even need like a heater or something. You could put it in there and it would like heat the room, if not the other room too.
Did you guys notice that out of the 2 different fireplaces, they were different? Did you notice that?
I didn't see the second fireplace.
I didn't look into the second fireplace. I was looking into the first one.
Same here.
The first fireplace was wood burning. The other fireplace, which was near the kitchen on the opposite wall, that one was a gas fireplace.
Oh.
Is that the one we have, Mom?
We have a propane yes, gas fireplace. Same type of thing.
I thought so.
So, Madeline, let's talk about some of the details that you guys learned.
We learned about like what floors can be made of and the kind they can be made of, like what kind of wood they can be made of, and also the cabinets.
And he said that oak can dent really easy. So, like, if you drop something heavy on it, then it'll dent, like, really. It'll dent.
But what all did the appraiser do? He didn't, he looked around to see what type of materials there were, but what else did he do? He did something else that was really important. I don't think you guys noticed.
I didn't notice.
I think we were playing around too much.
I think that's exactly why you missed it.
Yeah.
Before we got there, he actually measured the whole outside of the house. He measured the whole outside of the house, and then he measured the inside. Go ahead, Adelisa. You have something you want to say?
I said it.
Oh, you already said it? Okay. So, why would they measure the outside of the house? Do you know, Adelisa? And the inside. Why would they measure it?
They would measure the inside because they want things to fit in there. Because like they might have a dresser that's.
But the guy that was in there, sweetie, he's the appraiser. He's not going to live there.
He's measuring it for the bankers.
Correct.
And,
I think it was because... sorry.
Wait, let her finish. I want to see if she knows why he was measuring the house.
The banker, they might have a dresser that the
Width?
the width, Like, say the banker's dresser is 5 widths.
But the banker's not going to live in the house either.
The bank needs to know like what it is for the buyer. The
How do
buyer
you think
comes
we
along.
knew that it was 8,000 square foot?
That's right. They have to measure it to make sure that the square footage is correct. That's exactly right. He did something else, too, that you guys didn't notice because you were
playing around,
and then I made you wait in the car.
Yeah.
But he was he was measuring each of the rooms, and then he also wrote down the bedroom count, the bathroom count, how many total rooms there were. He had to write all the little details down because all those things have to go in the appraisal report.
Is it like
Why?
to measure it because, like, if you were to measure it like that, because say it was like 16 by 8, because it was a pretty big house.
It was really big.
So if it was like 16 by 8, the room or something like that, probably bigger. But then you would know not to get. This is probably not going to be reasonable, but then you know not to get a 10-foot dresser.
Well, I mean, it's helpful to the person buying the house, but that's not the reason why the appraiser is there. Yes, he has to measure it to get the square footage and stuff, but can you tell me why? Let's talk about why. Why does the bank send an appraiser out to the house anyway? Why do they do that?
To see if anything is gone, like missing or broken or anything.
That's one thing. He'll comment on it if he sees a broken window or anything's wrong. He does do that. But that's not the main reason. What is he going to do with that appraisal report when he's done with it? Do you know?
I think he's going to give it to the buyer or the banker. Because the buyer or the banker, they might... Well, let's talk about the banker first. Like, they may need to... If it doesn't have a price on it, then they'll need to see if it's broken, and if it's not going to be repaired, they need to put less money on it.
Very good. You mean the value?
Yes.
Very good. Very good. What happens if, like, how much, you guys give me a guess what you think the buyer's buying the house for. Just guess. Just guess. You don't have to say, just give me a guess.
Maybe
That way they can live in it, you know, like maybe it'll fit their
Like the
needs.
guess of how much it is.
Give me a number on how much you think the buyer's buying it for. Just give me a guess.
Well, it depends.
Yeah,
On if
before or
it's
after
clean. Which
house are you
everything.
talking
Before
about?
or after everything's fixed up.
The first house, but he's right. The buyer is going to buy it. They're going to put in an offer, which is the purchase price or the sales price of the home. But the appraiser's going to go behind them. He's going to determine a number, and that number is your appraised value. Your appraised value, what happens if it's less or if it's more? Do you know?
No.
Then it won't
clue.
be worth its full pricing.
What happens?
if it's more,
Then you have a lot of people who want to buy it. Like,
Well, Nick, I think if it was less, then more people would want to buy it because
yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry. Like,
Because
if it was less, then you'd have, like, everybody saying, oh, I want this house, oh, I want this house, oh, I want this house, because it's worth it. You know, like something...
the big house is worth little, but it's actually worth a lot.
Yeah, like something that's really cheap, like, I don't know. Like, if you got a car for, like... I have no clue. Like, I can't name something right now.
Mom, did you want us to give us a price of how much you think it is?
Well, I'll tell you this much. If it appraises less than what the buyer is purchasing the house for, like what their contract amount is, what do you think happens in that case? If the appraiser says that number is lower than the purchase price,
Then there's been damage done.
let's use simple numbers. Let's say someone goes in and they are going to buy a property for $100,000 and they write a contract or a purchase and sale agreement for $100,000. But then the appraiser comes out and he appraises it at 95. What do you think happens at that time?
Then they gave too much money toward the house.
Then the government or the bank or the government or the bank is going to be mad because they didn't get their full amount of money.
Nope, that's not how it works. The bank is actually going to lend their money on it. So they want to make sure that the buyer is not paying more than their appraiser says it's worth. So there's a couple different things that happen in that scenario when the sales price comes in short. The buyer can bring the difference. So in that particular scenario where it's $100,000 and it appraises for $95,000, they can write a difference they can pay a $5,000 difference for the house. They can split the difference. A lot of times they go back and renegotiate and reduce the amount of the purchase and sale agreement to the $95,000. Sometimes that happens too.
So that's why appraisers have their job. Just like everybody has their job. So that's why appraisers have their job.
That's a very good point, Nick. So part of today is for you guys to see some of the different jobs that are actually out there, right?
Yeah.
And so I know we have to take a quick break here in just a minute, but when we come back, we're going to talk about who are some of the different jobs that you guys encountered today. While we take a break, I'm going to have you write that down real quick. And we're going to talk about some of those things when we get back, and then we're going to go into some more of the details of your worksheet, Madeline.
And we'll be right back with Tampa Home Talk.
Back in a minute.
Talk, the greatest,
with your host Katrina Manuel.
Go ahead.
Love where you live, or my mom will fix
restart it.
No, we're not restarting.
We can't.
No do-overs. That's the way it goes. So, guys, let's talk about some of the details and some of the things that you did today. And I want to know what else you learned. And then you guys forgot, too, that one of the clients, Kelly, remember Kelly, the one that we met today?
Yes.
Nick, did you notice what her son did?
Yes, he played baseball.
Her grown son. That was cool, wasn't it?
Yes, he played for the Colorado Rockies, but he had to go through minor league first because you have to go through minor league in order to go through major league. Go to major league, sorry.
So you encountered several different professions today, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
What did the client do?
Kelly, she said that she was a teacher at a private school.
Very good. So you guys had a lot of interaction with a lot of different people today, even here at the radio station, right? You got to meet Cedric?
Yeah.
What does he do? Do you remember? What did I tell you?
He's like,
I
don't remember what you told me, but he does the music and stuff.
He does all the music, and he hosts the radio show, and he starts it and ends it.
So what do you do, Cedric?
This.
Who let the dogs out?
Cedric's our show producer. That was right on time for today, wasn't it, Cedric?
That's right.
So, Madeline, you had to write a whole report to take the day off, right? And have it an excused absence?
Yeah.
So what is some of the things in your report say? What do the questions say, and what are some of your answers?
The first one, it says describe at the top it says student name, signature, the place of employment, and my mom's a realtor. And the first question was describe the job. I said you show houses to people who are looking for a new house. Also, you fix up the house to sell it for more money. And also, the client can either buy, rent, or sell their house.
We encounter so many crazy things. I think every week when I come in to talk to you guys and share on air our experiences, we could literally do Diary of the Real Estate Days, because there's so many crazy things that we encounter every single week. For example, one of the things is we have a client that's purchasing a bank-owned property, and we had to get the title fees and stuff when it came back. And here in our area, it's customary that the seller chooses the title agent, and they pick and pay for title insurance and doc stamps on the deed. Well, in the bank-owned properties, they're not going to pay for doc stamps on the deed. And when we actually got the title fees back from the attorney, they were more expensive than just the buyer picking and paying their own title agency. So we shifted them on over to Hillsborough Title, which is one of our show partners. Very happy to have Aaron Davis as one of our show partners with Hillsborough Title. And they basically picked up the ball and ran with it on a very short notice. I'm really happy to have them there as a backup plan. Madeline, what else? What other things you have in that report there? And some of it, I noticed you pre-wrote some of it before we were done with our day, didn't you? And then I noticed you guys said that it was different than you thought it would be.
Yeah.
Yep.
The second question was, what are the qualifications for employment in this job?
And my mom had a super long list of them.
Yeah, there's a lot more than I thought it was. I thought you just had to, like, get your realtor license and boom, you're a realtor or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, but this is what she said. At least a 40-hour state licensing course. You have to pass a state exam. You have to get fingerprinted, and your background has to be checked for any criminal history.
And my mom said that the reason why you have to get fingerprinted is because you go into some people's houses who are trying to sell them, but they still have their stuff in there. And if you to fingerprint,
know if it's your fingerprint or not.
If it matches, then they'll know that you were taking it. And my mom,
would you want somebody that has a record of robbing a bank to be in your house?
No.
Heck no.
Oh, heck
That's
no.
no.
What about if they just shoplifted other stuff? Would that be okay?
No, not at all.
I don't. They ain't stealing anything, or they're not coming to my house.
So now you know it's their personal belongings or items,
Yeah.
things of value to them. Some of those things can't be replaced because there's a lot of sentimental value.
Yeah.
So that's why the background check is really important, I think, for real estate agents.
And you can check people's records.
What else did you have on your list, Madeline?
Post 45 hours licensing requirement, and you have to plus ongoing required continuing education. And Mom, what does that mean?
We have a lot of that. So after you take your real estate license, and you pass the state exam, and you've gotten fingerprinted and all those things, you also have to do what they call a post 45, which means you have to take 45 more hours right after you get licensed to make sure you got it. Because they want to make sure you know all the laws for Florida Statute 495. And they're going to basically go into all those details, and they're going to teach you core law, the laws and the ins and the outs of what's allowed in the state of Florida and what's not. What else, Madeline?
I had follow all 494 state laws, and then you have to have the required tools to be a realtor, such as a lockbox key, a lockbox, MLS access, the time to do research about the house. You have to pay attention to details, like when you're in the house and around the house and stuff like that, and to the people that's entering the house.
Why do you think that would be important that we use a comparable that is like the house we're selling and not something that's totally different, like some of the houses we saw today?
What's comparable?
For example, the first house we saw is totally different than the second or third house, right?
Yes.
So that's what they call comps or comparable sales. And essentially, they want to make sure that the homes that we're selling comp to, like, they compare, they're similar. The one that we saw, the second one, is completely different than the first. They're in no way comparable. It's a totally different buyer that would buy those houses.
Yes.
What was that, Nick? Say it. Go ahead.
We listened to a podcast on the way here to the radio show because it took a little bit for us to get there. And
what did I tell you? Why did we listen to a podcast?
You said because they have information in them and facts.
But why did I make you guys listen to it?
I don't know.
Because it was take your kid to work day, and that's what I would do.
Yeah, that's what my mom does when she travels and stuff. And one thing that kind of stuck out from all the rest is that the guy, his coach asked him, he said, he asked his
coach. You heard in the podcast. Very good.
Yes, his coach asked the player, he was like, why didn't you make that tackle? And he was like, oh, he was holding me, coach. And he's like, and then the coach, he said, an excuse is a skin of a lie wrapped with a reason. And he said, and the next time he said, okay, coach, I will not
do that again.
Do it again. So what he did was the next time that he missed a tackle, his coach asked him why he missed a tackle, and he said, Coach, I I didn't have a good grip on him, and I couldn't pull him down. I'm sorry. And he said, okay, do better next time. So, like, the moral of that story was, like,
Try your hardest.
yeah, try your hardest.
So, Madeline, what else you have there in your notes?
I did this one before we went to the radio show. So it says, what do you like most about this job? I said looking at all the different kinds of houses, like the models and how and what the floors and walls are made of, like how they're made, what they're made of.
Has that changed?
Yeah. I like the radio show because you can like talk about what you saw and everything.
And you get to talk about everything every Saturday and Thursday, and now we know what my mom does every Thursday.
And Saturday at 5 p.m.
Yep.
You want them to listen to what?
Tampa Home Talk.
Tampa Home Talk.
On
the
what
best
radio station?
On WTAN 1340, 1350, or 1400.
Very
Wow.
good, Nick.
I like that.
Impressive.
And AMC.
So, what other closing thoughts you guys have for today's show?
Pretty cool.
Go ahead, Rocket. What do you got left?
If you don't like your house, you should contact my mom because she's a really kick-butt realtor.
What's our motto?
Love where you live, or my mom will fix it.
Yes.
Money.
Any other closing thoughts for today for Take Your Kid to Work today?
It was fun.
Love what you do at your job. If you love what you do as a job, it's not really a job. Like, it's fun.
If you love what you do for a living, you'll never work another day in your life.
Yes.
Yes, because, like, I love baseball, and that's what I want to do when I get older.
And I love the water. I want to be a marine biologist or a cop.
Yeah, and so I'm actually playing minor league right now. I'm playing Little League at Land O'Lakes Little League.
Go ahead.
And I play for the Cardinals, and we're about to go into tournament. And I'm really excited about it.
So you have to love what you do, Nick. I think it's really important because I think when people show up for work or for a career or their job, whatever you want to call it, if you love what you do, you will show up with a passion every day and really just try to serve the people that you work with.
And not come all like asleep and everything because you want to be hyped up and happy of what you do.
Yeah, like my dad used to say, find something you like as a kid and then get paid for it when you're older.
Very good. So we're going to wrap the show up for today, guys. You'll catch us here every Thursday and Saturday at 5 p.m. This is your host, Katrina Madewell. I'm going to let my kiddos close the show today. Go ahead.
Thank you for listening to Tampa Home Talk with your host,
Katrina Madewell, Madeline Madewell,
Nick Madewell, and
Who's this little girl next to me?
Annalise Madewell.
yeah.
Well, you're listening to Tampa Home Talk. You guys, if you miss any part of our show or any week's show, you can catch it on our website, tampahometalk.com. You can also catch us on Facebook, Twitter, and across the web at Tampa Home Talk.
This one's the best one, though, so you should listen to it more.
And it's better than any other radio station out there.
Love where you live, or we'll fix it. My mommy will fix it.
Yeah, you don't work. You're only 8.
Thanks for listening to Tampa Home Talk this week, guys. We got to run, but we'll be back Saturday at 5 p.m. Thanks so much for listening. We are out.
Love what you live, or my mommy will fix it.
Have a good day.
Love where you live, or my mommy will fix it. And we're out.